adjust your audio source and controls on the right-hand menu. You can either dial in or you can use your computer speakers. And if you want, you can view the attendee list. And any questions that you have for this webinar, please type them into the question box. Everyone's muted, and we'll go through each section and then address any questions that you type in the box as we go. And Steph, do you have anything you'd like to add before we jump right in?
Can you hear me okay, Matt?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry about that. I was having some audio issues on my end. Nope, just wanted to welcome everyone to the webinar today. We appreciate your attendance, and Matt covered our housekeeping items. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on the program's YouTube page and also on the multifamilyupgrade.com webpage as well. The slides in PDF form and also the video will be posted there. So feel free to reference that after the webinar or give our staff a call if you have any questions. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Matt Jones, the technical manager for the program, and I'll let you take it away, Matt.
Thanks, Steph. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the PG&E Multifamily Upgrade Program Partner Orientation. I'm Matt Jones with TRC. We are the company that implements this program on behalf of PG&E. We can jump right into the agenda. So we'll give you an overview of how the program works, how you can participate. We'll follow a project through the process of the program, and then finally we'll talk about some upcoming trainings and some resources that we'll have available. Like I said, if you have a question, type it into the question tab at the bottom and we'll address those. All right, so we love to start webinars with disclaimers, and as you know, with utility programs, funding's limited. This is a first-come, first-served opportunity in the order that we reserve funding, so keep that in mind. And all the funding comes from ratepayers. PG&E is administering the program on behalf of the California Public Utility Commission. So as part of this, one of the reasons that you're attending this webinar is to become a partner in the PG&E Multifamily Upgrade Program. Being a partner doesn't mean that you're guaranteed a project, so it's up to you to sell jobs and recruit building owners and managers to the program. Likewise, it's TRC and PG&E is not in the business of handling contract disputes, so take a peek at your contract, sharpen it up, and communicate well with your clients. So with that, we'll jump right in. The Multifamily Upgrade Program is available to all PG&E customers, whether they have gas, electric, or both utilities from PG&E. We are a market-based program, so you guys are out in the field recruiting folks to the program and shepherding them through. A key component is that a project has to save at least 10% site energy savings over existing conditions, and that's based on a computer simulation building model. We consider a multifamily building to be 5 units or more, but we have some flexibility. So if you have, say, a 2-unit townhouse, a project with several 2-unit townhouses, likely we can get those to qualify as well. This is an existing buildings program. PG&E also offers a program for new construction, which is the California Multifamily New Homes Program. So if you're working with any developers of new multifamily buildings, check that out. And we're serving all unit types, high-rise and low-rise. And to participate in the program, you have to be a PG&E approved rater and a PG&E approved contractor. So that's why you're here today. Also, another key component to eligibility is that measures have to be completed in at least 2 of 4 broad categories, and those categories are building envelope. One of the categories is lighting and appliances, HVAC, and domestic hot water. So choose any 2 measures that fit within those broad categories and save 10% energy savings, and there's a good chance that the project will qualify. So we are on a single-year program budget. This year, our incentive budget is $5 million. That's a significant increase from last year, so we'll have an opportunity to do a lot more upgrades, and you'll have the opportunity to work with more customers this year. So some key dates. Once you complete an assessment, send in the documents. You must have the project pass the assessment review by September 29th, 2017. We're going to be keeping a close eye on construction timelines, and we'll work with you to create a reasonable and achievable construction completion deadline. Once construction is complete, then test out documentation is due within 30 days and no later than November 13th, 2017. So very similar to our approach from last year. With incentives, we have made some changes. What hasn't changed is the 10% minimum savings threshold and the fact that as you increase savings, the incentives increase as well. This year, we are trying to push projects to achieve deeper savings, and we're aiming to do that in a couple of ways. First, the minimum incentive has dropped somewhat from $600 per unit to $400 per unit. And then as for each percentage increase above 10%, the incentive goes up $25 per dwelling unit until we hit 18%, at which point for every percentage increase in the savings, the incentive increases by $75 per dwelling unit, and that's a significantly higher rate of increase than we had last year. So it should be a compelling reason to find more energy savings for the property owners. Just like last year, we pay the incentives at the completion of the work, and the owner has the option of signing over the incentive to the approved contractor that's completing the work if they wish. Jumping to assessment incentives, these haven't changed since last year, so it's still $100 per unit for the assessment incentive to offset the cost of the energy audit and testing involved. Projects that go beyond 25% or more have a bonus of $25 per unit. We have a cap for the assessment incentive at $20,000. This incentive is usually paid to the directly to the owner, But again, the owner can sign that off to the rater on the project if they wish. And so I understand that it's tough to complete a multifamily upgrade within 12 months. And so we had a number of projects come through what we call the incremental path. And that's a pathway where we allow projects to complete in stages. And the stages can be, say, upgrades on a unit-by-unit basis or on a measure-by-measure basis. And we plan to continue that for this year, but at the moment we're fully subscribed. So we're working on funding, and we should have some more information soon, but this is a pretty good option, so I wanted to tell you about it now. The keys are, as we mentioned, minimum 10% energy savings, but to go through the incremental path, we need projects that have at least 100 units, and PG&E must provide both gas and electric. The way this works is that we create a savings estimate at each stage in the scope of work, and then figure out what the incentive for each stage would be. There's a $1,000 admin fee for each stage, and we hold back 10% of the total incentive until the project is at completion. For assessment incentives, after the first stage, we pay 70% of the assessment incentive, and then the final 30% is paid at the completion of the work. So we have a few projects that are going through that pathway right now, and we should have some more information probably for the Q1 partner meeting on what potential funding may be and where the incremental path stands for projects that will be completing in 2018. And I wanted to check with you, Steph, do we have any questions so far?
There aren't any questions so far, so please type them into the question box if you have any, and we will address them. A few things I wanted to just highlight that Matt presented is that the incentives, the new incentive scale that we have for this year's program, just to highlight, the incentives are much more valuable and increase in that tier 2 as you go deeper in savings. So that's a big change in the program this year, and as Matt had mentioned, a mechanism to be able to incentivize projects that are going deeper. We do have a question that came in through the chat box, and the question is, when might the incremental program open up again? So this is something that we're working with PG&E on right now to secure funding past this year, so into 2018. They have indicated, obviously, interest in continuing this participation pathway, but we don't have any news at this point of when that incremental path will open back up. So we will keep everyone posted on that as we learn more.
Great.
And it looks like that is all the questions we have right now.
Okay. So we went over just a quick overview of how the program works. And I know most of you have probably are already working with us, but now we'll go over on how you can participate. So in the PG&E Multifamily Upgrade Program, we rely on you, the program's partner raters and contractors, to recruit customers and shepherd them through the process. And there are a number of benefits to being listed as a PG&E partner. First, you get listed on the program's website, so prospective customers can easily find you. Second, we'll be offering a number of trainings that are specific for your industry and work and should hopefully make your job easier. we can be a great technical resource for you if you have, say, modeling questions or questions on particular pieces of equipment or measures. You can always contact any of the folks at TRC to get the latest information. And we also offer a marketing toolkit, so it includes buttons and links that you can include on your website, marketing language, and a flyer you can customize. And here's an example. It goes over the basic tenets of the program and has sections where you can add your business's information. So to qualify, you have to attend this orientation or watch it online. And so for anyone that's on the call, you're getting that squared away. We also have some license and insurance requirements, and we have agreements for contractors and raters, and they're fairly straightforward and easy to fill out. So for raters, no changes to qualifications. So HERS raters, BPI building analysts, or envelope professionals complete CAS testing. Nothing new here. Likewise for contractors, no changes from last year's program. So you should be a licensed contractor in the state of California under the Class A, B, or C. For contractors, if you're hiring subs, they need to have the appropriate licenses and certifications, and it's your responsibility to verify that they hold those certifications. We have small change in insurance requirements with regard to automobiles, and the change simply allows another form of insurance to be covered, the scheduled auto, where you list your vehicle among your scheduled covered items. And this is also an unchanged item from last year, I believe, where we require that you have a background check policy in place. The details are in the contractor and rater agreements, and this is a must to do use. So you have to have a policy in place, and it will protect both you and the building owners that you work with. Steph, any new questions before I jump in to the process?
Yeah, so we did have one question come in about the incremental pathway. And the question is the $1,000 admin fee at each stage of the project, does that impact the rater incentive, so the assessment incentive? And no, it does not. The $1,000 administrative fee, that is taken off of the upgrade excuse me, my words today. That comes off of the upgrade incentive. And no other questions about participation.
Okay, so let's go through the process for a project. It's a little tiny, but so the way it works is we first have a pre-qualification conversation, and if a building owner is working with you already, that usually happens with a phone call between TRC, the building owner, and the rater and or contractor if they're if the building owner has someone that they're working with already. If not, we aim the building owner towards our list of raters and contractors if the project looks like it'll be a good fit for the program, and the building owner picks a rater and a contractor. They fill out an application. make sure that they meet all the various requirements, and then the rater conducts an assessment. One new thing for this year is that we're going to be having some mid-project check-ins that involve TRC, the building owner, the rater, and the contractor. One of those check-ins happens around the assessment so that we can kind of go over general issues, potential savings areas, combustion safety items that could be an issue, things we need to watch out for. Once the assessment is complete and submitted for review, TRC conducts a review of all the materials submitted, and we like to have a live assessment review, usually on a webinar or Skype, where we can just we found that we can answer questions really quickly and make the review go much smoother. And then after the project's reviewed, we reserve the incentive. And at this point, we'll have another check-in, and just to make sure the scope of work is clear to everyone involved and the project can meet its requirements and the timelines are understood. Once construction gets underway and is around about half finished, we'll have one more check-in to identify potential issues, adjust timelines, things like that. And at construction completion, the rater gathers all the required documents and submits them for review. And once we review it, we pay an incentive. So I mentioned these mid-project meetings. The goal of these is to keep the project on track, to make sure everyone is kind of on the same page with what's happening, and it offers the rater and the contractor an extra opportunity to have influence on the outcome and what upgrades are chosen and how the work is performed. And it also should provide some more consistency with what incentives can be expected at the end. And okay, so any questions on that section?
There haven't been any questions that come in so far. I just want to highlight that the mid-project meetings were actually a result of feedback from you, our program partners, and also past participants. This was something that we folks had communicated to us that would be really valuable to make sure that the whole project team is on the same page. And a lot of times owners have difficulty sort of translating requirements of the program to their contractors that are actually conducting the upgrades. So this is a way to have the program kind of assist in that. And we're here, the MUP staff, as your free technical resource. So we're happy to be able to offer this service to all of our projects. And again, also, we realize that the yearly program cycle is something that unfortunately we haven't been able to get the utilities out of quite yet. And so this is also a mechanism to make sure that all of the program deadlines are clear and that the project is on track to complete, because we don't want anyone to miss out on these incentives. So we look forward to these meetings and hope that they are a very useful resource for your customers.
Great.
No further questions, Matt.
All right. So when the rater goes to conduct the assessment, we are following the Home Energy Retrofit Coordinating Committee's recommendations on sampling. I'll have an example of the basic sampling requirements a little bit later. Likewise, as part of your submittal, you should have an assessment report. And the key parts of that report will be documenting existing conditions, providing a description of proposed upgrades, and providing good photo documentation of existing conditions. Again, we have this 10% minimum improvement. We are using Energy Pro version 5 to perform the energy simulations in. For low-rise, you'll use the residential performance module, and for high-rise, you use the non-res performance module. No change. We're still request that you provide one model per building. You can include common areas and lobbies as part of your modeling. If you're making upgrades to those spaces, you can take credit for that. And we also allow side calculations and custom measures. This is on a case-by-case basis, and TRC reviews them, and if need be, we'll run them by PG&E as well. A new, somewhat new aspect of our program is we'll be adding quality installation standards. Some of these are simply documentation changes. One change is that we will require a lighting schedule to be submitted with the proposed or at test-in, and if lighting upgrades were made, then we'll need an update at test-out. We'll have some photo documentation kind of adjustments that I'll go over shortly. And we're also working on some quick reference guides to highlight best practices for installation of various measures. So for example, and the ideal format is probably going to be a checklist of some sort, and it'll highlight things like if you're installing attic insulation, then you'll need blocking around flues, things like that. And so that'll be something that a contractor can take and just kind of jot through and make sure that they fulfilled those requirements. So photo requirements here. So slight change, we're going to request in-progress photos of certain measures, specifically attic and sidewall insulation and window installation. Likewise, we need, as part of the test out package, photos of all measures performed. This can be based on the sampling protocol where you're taking pictures of upgrades in units based on how many units there are at the site. We can work through and adjust these photo documentation requirements during the project meetings, and we can work out who is going to collect any in-progress photos. So it could be the rater builds into their expectations a mid-project visit to check on things, or potentially they could work closely with the contractor to make sure that those the photos get taken and sent. All right. Any questions on that last section, installation standards?
It doesn't look like there's any questions at this point. I just wanted to highlight that this was also a new development of the program, and was a suggestion by several partners in the program as well. So they had found that going out and doing the site verifications, a lot of times it was difficult for them to verify certain measures like insulation if the project had already been completed. So this is a mechanism to be able to help identify any installation issues and be able to address the project team to correct those midstream and not necessarily at the end. because as we all know, it's very difficult to correct certain measures after they've been installed and walls have been closed back up. So we hope, again, that this is also another way for the program to help be eyes on the project and ensure that measures are installed to industry best practices.
Great.
And there are no further questions, Matt.
Okay, we did make a few updates to our combustion safety requirements. One is that for central equipment, last year, 100% of central combustion equipment, so say central domestic hot water heaters that serve a complex, we required all of those to be tested. We've adjusted that requirement to align with PERC standards so that you can take a sample of that equipment. The table at the right shows standard sampling requirements for in-unit items. And what else is important here? You should always be checking for CO alarms, make sure that they are installed and working. And when you're about to go to do your combustion safety testing at test-in, please notify us 5 days in advance. At test out, again, please give us a ring and let us know 5 days ahead of time before you go out to do test out. We require 100% of units to receive combustion safety test out, and 100% of affected equipment to be tested out. This won't apply if the combustion equipment is totally outside the building envelope, and new ovens and new gas ovens and ranges don't require testing. Another change for this year is that we're following the ANSI BPI standard 1200 as opposed to BPI's building analyst standard for the protocols on conducting combustion safety testing. And overall, this standard is, I think it's an easier standard and it's more clear on its definition. So the standard 1200 provides a kind of defined course of action for each test, whereas the BPI building analyst standard was kind of conditional, where one test affected the results of another test. Couple highlights here are that spillage test under standard 1200, you take your spillage reading at 2 minutes for water heaters, and you test spillage at 5 minutes for other combustion appliances. Whereas in the BPI building analyst standard, you tested for spillage at 1 minute. So this should probably help some units pass. It will give them a longer time to establish draft. And talking about draft, under standard 1200, draft testing is no longer required. So that is just one less test that you'll have to do. CO readings are taken at 5 minutes from startup under standard 1200, as opposed to waiting until the appliance reaches steady state. So here are the CO action levels. These are for flue gas measurements. This is just a kind of sampling of them, and you can see the complete list in the handbook. But again, this is another thing where under the old standard, this CO, your CO measurement, the result depended upon results in the previous test. Like whether it failed spillage. Here, under the new standard, it's a clear cut. If you exceed this threshold, then action is required. Now, PG&E has some somewhat more strict standards, and we're talking about ambient CO. So if your personal CO monitor exceeds any of these values around these appliances, that's the point when you would call PG&E's gas service representatives. Again, this will be in your handbook, but you can always call us with any questions that you have. All right, Steph, anything to add or any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that the program does request you inform us 5 business days prior to your site visit for combustion safety testing. And this is really a way for us to communicate to PG&E and give their regional gas service representatives a heads up that folks will be in the area doing testing. And so then they can dedicate staff to be available if you have any calls that require them to come out to the site. So we really encourage, just sort of as a smooth process for everyone involved, that you please notify us so we can give PG&E a heads up. And we did have a question come through. It says, when will the 2017 handbook be available? The customer handbook is already available on the Multifamily Upgrade website, and the partner and contractor handbook will be available and posted to the partner portal early next week. So we will send out a note to everyone once that has been posted.
Oh, great.
And that is it for now.
All right. So we have a few trainings coming up this year. One that's happening soon is an operations and maintenance training. This will be a 2-part web series, and it will also have a site-based component, which should be interesting and potentially exciting as well. And then we'll be covering some other topics in the webinar format. And if you have any suggestions or things that you would like to see, please let us know, and we might be able to fit those in. And we always post these on our YouTube channel. Like this particular training, you'll be able to go and watch them afterwards. So Steph mentioned the program handbooks. So these are a good resource. The partner handbook will be available soon, and take a look at it. It has a lot of good information in it. And if there's something that you can't find in there or something's unclear, please let us know, give us a call, or drop us an email, and we'll get right on it. And again, once most of you, if you're already a partner, you have access to the partner portal, and that has all kinds of resources in it, and schedules and events. And for those of you who are new, we will get you access to that portal so that you can gain access to these materials. So you've now completed the orientation component of the process to become a PG&E partner, rater, or contractor. And now we just will need some copies of your certifications and insurance info. The email is right there. And we also have some trainings on our YouTube channel. These are links, and we'll make this slide deck available so that you can follow those links and find them. Likewise, or rather, I think the last part is we'll have the partner agreement up, and that's a fairly straightforward document to read, review, and fill out and sign. And I believe that's it. Any general questions or things to add, Steph?
Sure. There's just two questions right now. Please type in if you have any other questions into the chat box, and we will address them. Just want to highlight that we will be following up with everybody who has attended the webinar today. If you haven't already contacted our staff member, Connie Malone-Jones, she processes all of the materials that you guys will submit to the program. And we have a really handy checklist for everyone to go through to make sure all of the requirements have been fulfilled for the program. And Connie will let you know when you have been approved in the program, and will also send you your partner toolkit as well. Additionally, there was another question surrounding the mid-inspections. The question is, would you say that mid-inspections are not necessarily mandatory, but recommended to allow the ability to assess the installation, and other things such as windows? The concern is that if multiple inspections are mandatory, this may not be cost effective for the rater. Yes, definitely hear you on that. And so we have the 3 milestone check-ins with the project team, and these are designed to set the expectations for what type of installation, photo documentation, and other materials need to be submitted. And this is something that the contractor will also provide for the program. So it's not necessarily the rater required by the rater to go out and do mid-inspections. This is something that the contractor will likely be more suited to provide to the program as they are going through and updating the site. So these types of expectations and what's required will be custom for each project based on the measures that are being installed, and will be discussed at those mid-check-in meetings for everyone, and make sure who's responsible for submitting what is established at that point. There's another question regarding, is there any other energy efficiency program in PG&E territory that overlaps or can overlap with MUP incentives? That's a great question, and yes, there are a few. So there is currently a program in the 9-county Bay Area region. So it's a BayREN program for multifamily upgrades. And if a project is participating in that program or the multifamily upgrade program through PG&E, they're only eligible to participate in one program. Additionally, if there's any prescriptive rebates that the project is applying for, the project is not allowed to claim savings for that particular rebate through the multifamily upgrade program. I would encourage, as we have pre-qualification meetings with the project teams, we will definitely go over all available incentive options and let folks know what programs are available and what they can qualify for, and it's not considered double dipping. So that is something that the program staff is very well versed on the programs within the PG&E territory, and we're happy to talk more specifics if you have anything. There's another question about, can you expand on the side calculations and custom measures on a case-by-case basis? How is that administered? So essentially, any projects any measures that are not part of the alternatives tab in Energy Pro are considered a custom measure. And so we have some measures like low flow fixtures that are approved in the program and are entered in as a custom measure. If there's any additional measures that you're looking to claim savings for that are not easily modeled in Energy Pro, or there isn't an available work paper on the measure, that's when please bring it to the program staff's attention, and we'll be able to assess if it's eligible through the program. Okay, I don't see any additional questions in this point. Like I said, please, the program presentation will be posted on the website. And if you have any questions, please let us know.
All right. Thank you, everybody.